when you consider the rhetoric we have heard from President Trump just in the last 24 hours, let alone over the course of the last 10, 11 days, where are we right now on the escalatory or de-escalatory curve?
I mean, wandering all over the parking lot. This is a war of choice, not necessity. And wars of choice, wars of discretion. The metrics and standards for evaluating success are much higher because presumably in a war of choice, there was no imminent or immediate threat to the security or prosperity of the United States. And frankly, as of February 23rd, that statement still stands. The administration has toggled back and forth. I think they've settled, more or less, on the narrative that not only did the president and the Israelis help kill Ali Khamenei, the supreme leader, and by the way, this is a transformative act, there's no doubt about it. Iran is not going to be the same country after decades rule of a guy who basically championed death to Israel, death to America, used proxies to spread Iranian influence in 4 or 5 capitals, and frankly bankrupted the country by the pursuit of a nuclear weapon, or at least a nuclear weapons program. But I think they've settled on a narrative that they have basically undermined, to use the president's favorite word, obliterated Iran's capacity to project its power abroad, and with the Israelis, taken a major whack at the instruments of state repression that have been used to repress and oppress demonstrations and the Iranian public for decades. Regime change? No. I think after 11 days, it seems to be clear that the headline is the trend line. That this regime, the IRGC, and remember, to control Iran, you need access to money, you need access to guns, and you need access to oil. And the fact is, there's only one organization, security services, and the IRGC, that has that sort of influence and power. So 11 days in, I mean, can we speculate? The war could be over next week. It could last for another several weeks. This is the problem with a war without defined objectives.
Well, so we have a new supreme leader. The regime is holding, as you're pointing out here, Aaron David Miller, and we wanted to talk to you about some of the sunlight that we're finding between U.S. and Israeli objectives. Does the Ayatollah's son, the new supreme leader, have a price on his head? Does he need to stay indoors for the foreseeable future?
Yeah, I would think, Hassan Nasrallah, the head of Hezbollah, the Israelis killed in the fall of 2024, his successor, Hashim Safieddin, lasted 6 days. Maybe Mujtaba Khamenei will last longer, but I think, no, the Israelis are going after leadership targets. They live in the neighborhood. And on this one, look, let's be clear. We're Venus, the Israelis are Mars. The Israelis really do have an existential threat should Iran actually cross the nuclear threshold from a threshold weapon state to an actual weapon state. So they're in that respect, Benjamin Netanyahu, I think, would like to see the war last for another several months so the Israelis can continue to degrade not just Iran's ballistic missile production and its inventory, but their leadership targets as well. But make no mistake, when Donald Trump decides the war is over, Benjamin Netanyahu will comply. Rarely has an American president, I worked in administrations from Jimmy Carter to Bush 43, and I'd throw in Obama and Biden into that mix. Rarely, if ever, has an American president had more leverage over an Israeli prime minister. Because for Netanyahu, the one organizing principle in 2026 is not Iran, it's not Gaza, it's not Lebanon. It's re-election. And the fact is, if the government goes to term in October 2026, or if elections are advanced, which they may be, until June or July, Benjamin Netanyahu needs Donald Trump as an active campaigner, not as a passive one, an active campaigner, which means that when Trump says jump, the issue for Netanyahu, maybe I'm phrasing it a tad too strongly, is how high. So no, if Donald Trump wants the war over and the Israelis to stand down or to de-escalate or push it into another phase, Netanyahu is going to comply.
But what about Iran? Is Iran likely to comply?
And that is the key issue. Will the Iranians let Donald Trump de-escalate? That is a critically important question, because what Iran has now established is, one, regime stability and the cohesiveness of the Revolutionary Guard, and two, that what we're calling horizontal escalation. They can't go up directly against the U.S. military or the Israeli military, but they can escalate horizontally over a discrete area, and they're demonstrating with a terrifying clarity the power they have, and they probably latent capacity, if they're holding stuff back, and I think they are, to basically make life extremely uncomfortable, both for oil markets and for the Gulf states, who crave security and stability, and thought, when they allowed the Chinese, Saudis, to broker this détente between Iran and Saudi Arabia, that's what they were getting. And look, guys, in this part of the world, geography is destiny. And as far as the Gulf states are concerned, yeah, they can continue to rely on the United States, but it hasn't stopped the Iranians from disrupting life basically as they know it. The proximity guarantees vulnerability, and they are vulnerable.